Hey guys, welcome to Denny's. Today, we're going to be going over what I believe to be the best outposting and void reactor bossing build for Sharen. More specifically, we're going to be deep diving the build, followed by showing a gameplay loop, a few gameplay loops, rotations of sorts, and providing some insight on why I believe this build is probably one of the most important builds in the entire game for you guys to have, so definitely stay tuned. Before we do get into the video, guys, remember to leave a like if I helped you in any way. Comment any feedback you have for me down below in the comment section. It is massively appreciated. And lastly, subscribe if you feel that I've earned it. If not, next time I will. So keep up to date with the channel. And remember, guys, I'm live on Twitch every single day. Please come stop by, say hello. I really enjoy chatting with all you guys and gaming with you guys. I absolutely love it. Don't forget about the community Discord we launched as well. All links are in the description of the video, guys. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. And don't forget to utilize timestamps and video chapters if needed. Before I get into the build and the components, mods, everything like that, I want to briefly talk about why I think this build is extremely important and why having Sharen fully built will massively benefit each and every single one of you guys. In the first Descendant, the way I see it is there is 4 pinnacle endgame systems. You've got infiltrations with mobs and high HP bosses at the end, farming simulators, i.e. gold and Kuiper missions like Abandoned Refinery, Anticipated Ambush Point. You also have the Void Intercept bosses and the Outposts, right? Combined with the Void Reactor bosses. So 4 endgame systems. Now, having Sharen fully built is the only option for maximizing efficiency in the endgame outposting and Void Reactor farming, due to her being the only Descendant that can go camouflage for the infiltration mechanic. Now, you could argue, obviously, she's not perfect for every single Void Reactor boss. However, going from Outpost directly to a Void Reactor boss without having to swap any Descendants or builds or presets and still doing them pretty quickly is a very efficient way to go about farming and cracking open those amorphous patterns. So without wasting any more time, let's show off the build. Let's speed up your farming times for all the different patterns that come from Outposts, which is a lot, guys. Let's get into it. All right, guys, let's hop into the build. Let's start off with the Reactor, as always. So what we are looking for in Sharen's Reactor, the one that I have is a Python-mounted electric infusion reactor with skill critical hit rate and skill critical hit damage. I actually went with the only reason I went with the Python mounting is because this is the reactor that I was targeting, guys. It's the crit hit rate and the crit hit damage. Crit scales extremely well on Sharen. As of right now, I have a 67% crit rate utilizing this reactor. So I recommend going for crit hit rate and crit hit damage. Obviously, if you want to go for a mounted of Thunder Cage or whatever mounted gun you want to target, I was more targeting the actual roll itself just because of how important that is rather than the actual gun. Python is a good gun. And you'll see in some of the background gameplay. Obviously, I am doing pretty well. I have it decently catalysted out, but definitely go for critical hit rate, critical hit damage on the reactor, guys. That is what I would recommend doing. Now, things you could change, I would say you could probably go for a critical hit damage mixed with the faction type of the enemy you are fighting if you're having trouble with reactor bosses, or you want to absolutely min-max the reactor bossing on Sharen. Go for critical hit damage mixed with the faction of each type. So 1 for the immortality, 1 for darkness, and 1 for truth. If you have 3 of those, then you're probably going to be pretty much as perfect as it gets for void reactors, and you're going to do a lot of damage to those guys. So that's one easy way to do a lot more damage and something that I would change, but this is an all-rounder that I'm using currently. And then next up, we will go over the components, obviously the most important part of a lot of builds. First and foremost, guys, we are using the 4-piece Slayer set. So obviously we've got the skill cost increased a little bit, but more importantly, we've got the skill power plus 26%. And I will be going into the Descendant Modules and why that is so important for the skill power. Obviously, it's important on a lot of Descendants. We'll start off with the Aux power here. We have got a max HP followed by the MP recovery out of combat. Now, guys, this is a really bad roll for Sharen. You really want a gold rolled MP recovery out of combat. As you can see, I have a blue roll, so it's very bad. And you really want, obviously, a gold rolled HP. Now, to each their own, it's kind of a grindy thing to kill Pyromaniac over and over and hope for this max HP to be gold with the MP recovery to be gold. You want these 2 rolls. This is the God roll for sure. The MP recovery out of combat is so important. It is imperative on Sharen. It is imperative to have on Sharen. So take note of that, the MP recovery out of combat, and I'll explain why when I go over the gameplay loops. Next up, we have the Slayer sensor. We've got the 2 classic rolls, max MP, absolutely imperative to have on Sharen, as well as the MP recovery in combat. Very nice to have, not a necessity, but very nice to have. And then we'll skip it over to the memory. with the memory, the most important thing you can have is just the MP recovery modifier. The rest of the rolls don't really matter. If you want to have defense on it, go for it. I went for gold because this is just a gold MP recovery modifier roll that I have. But I think the God roll would probably be MP recovery modifier followed by defense. A little bit of defense never hurts, obviously. As you can see, I only have 5,000 defense on the Sharen, but I digress. Onto the Slayer processor. So the processor I have is literally just for tankiness. Obviously, you could run whatever you want on this. It gives you max HP. The Slayer one does, so that's why it's good. I run max shield as well as shield recovery modifier. I was testing overcharged edge. I don't use a lot of overcharged edge gameplay in the background footage. I don't think it's actually as good because of just the limitations that you have on max shield with this build. I tried it, guys. I think this build is just an all-rounder for the reactor bosses and everything like that. So again, it doesn't really matter what you have on the processor. Just definitely recommend having at least a gold roll of some kind of tankiness, or you can obviously have the item acquisition and equipment drop rates. It definitely wouldn't hurt. But now on to the Descendant module. So this is obviously the most important part. I'm going to go one by one here and kind of why I use each one. So we're going to start off with the cooldown reduction modules. So we've got MP conversion and nimble fingers. Now, MP conversion and nimble fingers are our only cooldown reduction modules that we are using, and they make it so that we can spam our camo as well as our slash, our Q ability. Very, very important. And then we've got the 2 damage mods of choice, Electric Specialist and Skill Simplification. Now, this is the most skill power you can get, it combined with, the least amount of, obviously we don't want any extra cooldown, so we're not using any ridiculous mods that increase our cooldown. This is a nice happy medium that I found to do the most damage while not sacrificing, cooldown or other things. We don't really need max MP minus 25% is not a huge deal on skill simplification, but this is maximizing our Q damage, which is the most important part, obviously, as well as our flash short sword damage, our ultimate ability on Sharen, which is a imperative part of the build as well. And then we've got our 2 quality of life here. You can see Battle of Stamina as well as Skill Extension. Now, the reasons we are going to be running these is because of the skill duration that obviously Extension gives you and the Battle of Stamina gives you. It will give you around 14 seconds of your 14.5 seconds of your active camouflage, which is plenty of time to get even 4 pylons in any outpost. You only get really close on a couple outposts in the game, guys, and really, I mean, it's not terribly close. You're still able to comfortably do them if you start in the right position. So these are why I choose the extension and HP mods. Obviously, Battle of Stamina gives you that nice little bit of tankiness, so definitely go with that. And then lastly, guys, we've got the 4 damage mods and actually 5 damage mods. I'm going to talk about Battle Suit Melting Rounds, but first we've obviously got the 4 crit mods. Crit scales insane with Sharen. So you want skill concentration, skill insight, emergency measures, and front lines. All of these absolutely are no questions asked. They need to be in the build. It is imperative for this build to have these, so keep that in mind. And then Battle Suit Melting Round. So this, you do not absolutely need this, guys. I added this in just because Sharen doesn't really have any good transcendents that are spammy. Like, for example, Overcharged Edge, you're not really able to spam your Overcharged Edge. It's depending on how many shields you have, how much shields you have, and it's kind of buggy right now too. I don't know if it's buggy or what's going on with it, but Battle Suit Melting Rounds gives you a nice 40% armor shred and electric shred. So it amounted to about a 20% damage increase on my Qs and my ultimate ability. So take that as you will. It is a damage increase nonetheless. I will go over the gameplay loop to show you guys how to actually utilize this, and it's quite fun, actually, the gameplay loop on Sharen. So I hope you guys do enjoy that. But that is the mods, and that is pretty much it. Obviously, I'm using long distance maneuvering. You guys can use whatever you want there, but that's the mods. Let's hop into the weapons real quick. I just want to show off the weapons I'm using now. Obviously, not really going to be using them a whole lot. Afterglow is probably the most important one. You can, if you have some ammo for snipers, you can pop your shield, get the ambush buff from your invisibility from your camo, and then your afterglow shot is going to do an insane amount of damage. As you can see, we've got weak point damage, better concentration, all the stuff for critical damage and weak point damage. Not too juiced right now, but it's still going to do a very chunky hit when it does hit. So definitely go with a sniper with Sharen, absolutely. And then obviously my mounted weapon of choice is going to be the Python. This is, it does a lot of damage, so I'm not building it for any crit, pure weak point. It does a lot of damage to the weak point when you do start to stack up the real life fighter, and you obviously do just that little bit of extra damage you need sometimes to finish off bosses or whatnot. It's a very, very good weapon. And obviously just good to have. But again, it's my mounted weapon, so not a huge choice there for me. I think it's good. I think it's a good choice for a mounted weapon. And then I'm using Nyzestra's Devotion. Don't really ever use this unless I'm out of ammo, guys. It's not really too juiced, as you can see. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a little live commentary gameplay loop of the Outpost action with Sharen. Now, this is an easier Outpost, but I still want to show it and exactly what this build can do. Obviously, as ever, you're going to run in, get all of the pylons while invisible. This one, again, being a pretty easy Outpost. I will display a harder one. As you can see, we literally just Q, and then the dot will actually finish him off. You don't have to worry about anything because that dot is extremely powerful. So that's an Outpost in action. That's an easy Outpost in action. Let's move on to a little bit of a harder Outpost. All right, guys, and then we're going to go over the gameplay loop for a semi-harder Outpost. As you can see, this one has 4 different pylons, A, B, C, and D. We're going to grab all 4, and the boss is going to have an orb phase. So I'm going to be showing off what to do here. As soon as I've done this, I have little time on my ambush, so I'm going to go run, kill as many ads in the boss as I can. Just 1 Q is all it takes with the dot that the Q puts on. And my big goal is going to be to make sure that I kill all of the orbs. So we flash out, make sure that I'm targeting them, get them all. And now, obviously, this place has a lot of ads, so I'm trying to rush to the boss, get my Q off. And then no crit. You should, if you get a crit, he's going to be dead after the dot. As you can see here, he's not quite dead. I missed the Q, so I have to finish him off with Python. But nonetheless, really easy way to do some of the harder ones with Sharen there. All right, guys, we are going to do a little gameplay rotation, gameplay loop of the Reactor bossing with Sharen. Now, I want to tell you guys what I'm going to be doing before I do it, and then I'll kind of go over it in my head while I'm doing it live. But basically, the goal here on this boss, it's a boss that has the orbs and the phases. They go immune, unfortunately. So the boss has the orbs, and the orbs will go immune at some point. It's kind of finicky. But to start it off, I'm going to throw down a battlesuit melting rounds, and then I'm going to do a Q without being in stealth. And the main reason for that is so that it'll be back up for the time I do go in stealth, and use my second Q, which is double damage. And then we will kind of go into the phase, use my ultimate ability. Hopefully it will kill all the orbs. If not, we'll pop out our afterglow, kill the orbs that are left over, and then we will go into invisibility to regain some MP back by being out of combat. And then we will finish him off by doing the same rotation that I did the first time. So we'll finish these guys off real quick, and we'll do that. And I'll kind of go over what's going on in my head. So starting off, we are going to pop a battlesuit melting round down. Then we're going to use 1 Q. As you can see, I kind of failed there. So we're going to do another Q, and then we're going to go invisible. And then we'll do our second Q. And the boss is dead because I got double crit. And then this is where you're going to want to back up a little bit. You're going to want to pop your invisibility because all the ads spawn and the spheres. As you can see, they're not immune right now, but they absolutely will be immune. We can see right there, they're immune, and then they're about to not be. So we're going to shoot now, and hopefully it gets all of them. It did, which is awesome. And now we're going to go immune and literally wait 2 seconds for our MP recovery to kick in. So in combat, it's kind of slow right now, as you can see, but soon enough, we should be out of combat and gaining quite a bit back. Hopefully any moment now. There we go. Okay. And then we are going to start off with a battlesuit melting rounds. We're going to go into the Q, shoot a little bit of Python, and then another Q, and the boss is dead. And that is it, guys. That's the rotation for the Reactor. This is a little bit of a harder boss, so it shows at least what you can do when the boss is a little bit harder. I had to wait for my MP there, so it was a little bit of a slower kill, but nonetheless, a quicker kill for some of the harder bosses at 52 seconds, but not bad. And other than that, guys, that's pretty much the video. I really hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you guys have fun with Sharen. This is a really fun build. I had a lot of fun making it. Props to everybody on the Twitch stream who helped me out with the leveling of Sharen, as we did it pretty quick. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week. But I'm out of here, guys. Peace out. Goodbye.